I have your folder. Also, I have your file. I have a photo of you. I found some of your music. I also have your favourite video. All I put in your folder. On the computer system, knowing about files and folders is paramount. So let's go and have a look and see how all this works. The story goes is, back in the 70s, we had floppy disk drives. The first floppy disk drive in the system, we would assign the letter A drive. If we had a second floppy disk, we would use the letter B. Hard disk drives, we gave it the letter C. CD-ROMs, D. Now today we use USB sticks a lot, and if I was to plug one in the system, we would expect to see the letter E. What I'm going to do is open up this USB stick and move this to the right hand side. Then I'm going to open up the command prompt. I'll put this to the left. Then in the command prompt, I'll type in the drive E. I'll just clear the screen. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a basic text file. So I'm going to type in copy con myfile.txt. In here I'll just put some basic text. Hi there. Control Z, enter. So what I've done is on this USB stick I now have a file which is a basic text file. If I double click into the text file itself, you see Notepad opens up and the text is in there. Hi there. Now when I named the file, I gave it a name myfile and used the extension txt. Now the reason why I did this was that Windows really has no way to identify what type of file that is, except for the extension. Windows by default thinks that any txt file contains only basic text, and if we were to double click it, needs to be opened up in Notepad. I'm going to create another text file, but this time in Windows. Right click, new, text document. I'll call this one myfile2. And if I double click it, in Notepad I'll type hello. Close this down, save it. Now in DOS, if we have a look at those two files, type myfile.txt. You can see that one has hi there. Type myfile2.txt. and all that's inside that file is the word hello. So let me create another one, but this time it's going to be a Word document. Copy con my file 3.doc, because I know that DOC files are associated to Word. And you'll see in the window here we have a Word document. This is a Word doc. If I display the text inside that Word doc, let's have a look. Just like the other ones. Now what I'm going to do in Windows is create a Word document. I'll close this down, save, and now what I'll do is I will display the text inside that document. My file 4.docx, and that's because I'm using a later version of Office that uses the X extension. And what comes back is garbage. Now the reason for this is that Word uses its own formatting to store its documents. It contains information about what font was used, whether the text is bold, what size it is, what colour, is there a graphic or a table, and because of that we can't read the information in that file. Now, what would happen if I was to rename one of these files and turn it into a bitmap? So I'm renaming myfile.txt and I'm going to call it myfile.bmp. BMP stands for bitmap. BMP and JPEG files are typically photos or images. And you can see up there that my file is now a image file, and Windows thinks that that file needs to be opened up into Paint. So let's double click it. Uh-oh, that doesn't work. Reason being is that there is a text document and the extension is wrong, and Windows thinks it's an image. See, Windows has no idea what's inside the file until it opens it, and it uses the extension of the file to determine what to use. Let me rename that file again. So what I've done is rename the file to the type ABC. Now there's no such thing as an ABC type of file. So you'll see Windows up here will display this funny little icon that more or less says, I don't know what this is. If I double click it, Windows comes up and says, what is this? I have no idea. I don't know what to do with it. Now what some people do is when this happens, they say, well, it's a file and I need to open it. So they go through the list and they choose what they want to open it with. So they typically choose Word, or they might choose it as a PDF. The end result being is that Windows then thinks from that time onwards it's a image type file and it tries to open it every time with Paint. But it's not an image type file, it's something else, and then we start having problems. So if you find that you have a file that you double click and it comes up and it can't open, it usually means that you haven't installed the application for it, and best off leaving it alone. Now what happens is that after a period of time you start building up a lot of files. You have a lot of Word documents, you have some photos, you have some Excel spreadsheets, and then all of a sudden you end up with a whole list of files and it's too hard to organize. You don't know what is where. You have to scroll through the list to find it. So one trick we do is we create a folder, a container to store some of these files in. So for example, in here I'll create a new folder and I'll call this work. So all this folder is a simple container, and I might put this Word document into there. If we have a look inside, you'll see that's where the Word document is. Come back one step, there's the other 3 documents and the folder. So folders are just a container to help us organize our stuff. Now back in the day, we were limited to how long our file names could be. We were allowed 8 characters for the file name and only 3 characters for the extension. Now today we can have the file name and the extension exceed a couple hundred characters. Thing is, but if we start using really long file names, it becomes a bit messy. They might be very descriptive, but as you go to the directory, you find that you'll have to scroll to find out what the true file name is, and it's just not good practice. Also, there's a few different characters we cannot use inside a file name, and these are the greater and less than signs, the colon, double quotes, the forward and backslash, that funny vertical line thing, the question mark and the asterisk. One thing we can use in the file name, and I prefer we don't use it, is the full stop. I try not to use full stops, but it's entirely up to you. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is have a poke around Windows XP. So I'll close these 2 windows. And let's go into My Documents. And in here you see there's a few folders by default. There's one for the music, the photos and the videos. Now if I move this over to the right hand side, and then I go into My Computer, you can now see you have drives. There's the C drive, the A, the D and the E for the USB stick we had. In the C drive, you'll see you have 3 folders. Windows and program files we want to leave alone. However, if we look into Documents and Settings, we'll see the user accounts for the computer. The one we're using is Owner. I'll go into Owner, then I'll go into My Documents, and I'll end up with the same view as what I did when I went directly into My Documents from the desktop. If I create a new folder here, and I'll call this Work, you can see that there's work over here as well. And that is because My Documents is the same as C drive, Documents and Settings, Owner in my case, My Documents. What I would normally do is create a few folders to organize my documents. Now I'll know that if I need to copy, move or back up my work, that everything will be stored under my documents. If I copy this folder, I'll copy all this. Now this is Windows 8, and what Microsoft did with Windows Vista 7, 8 and 8.1 was they rearranged how documents were stored by default. Let's have a look at this. What they've now done is they have what's called libraries. Again, if we go into the hard drive and go into users, used to be called documents and settings on XP, you'll see here I have a few user accounts. I go into my user account, and in here I have my documents, music, photos and videos. If I go into my documents, I have a couple of folders set up already, but in here is where I'd create my new folder structure. And then when I create my Word documents, my Excel, when I copy my photos from the camera onto my computer, I will then store them in here wherever I choose. Now the last thing I want to show you is labels for our drives. I'll just go into my computer. Now we can see the drives that we have here. We have the hard disk drive C, the floppy A, in my case a DVD drive D, and this is my USB stick. Now I might own, I don't know, 10 USB sticks, and I'd like to know which one's plugged in. So what I can do is right click in properties, and in here I can type a label. There's nothing at the moment. I'll call this USB 1. Okay, and there we go. We have a drive label for that USB stick. Computers do really make it easy to manage your files and folders. Once you practice it a few times, it will become habit. Thanks for watching.